What if Naruto had encountered Hinata, and instead of the initial shyness, there was a connection? As they become friends, certain events would lead to unfortunate circumstances, which would then eventually lead them into another situation where they would switch sides. This is what if Naruto and Hinata not only got together early, but became evil. This idea was suggested to me by the one, the only, your boy Oni, or Oni X. His card is right up here. And yeah, this is actually a series that directly parallels my What If Naruto and Hinata Got Together series. So if you want to see a similar baseline story where they are in fact good and a lot of things are completely different, click here. Also, apart from that, I would like to give a quick shout out to the channel members who are all listed here. And without further ado, I've wasted your time long enough. Roll that intro. The Akatsuki is gathered at home base, the Rain Village, and there the leader, Pain, would explain the events of the upcoming war. There had, not too long ago, been a declaration of war between the Sand and the Leaf. They, in this case, will be taking the side of the Leaf, just as many other villages had taken the sides of select individuals. And when it comes down to it, they have a contract with the opposing side. They need to get into the Leaf and eliminate everyone. Obviously, one member in specific, doesn't really matter who, would obviously question why the Leaf would even let them get in there. And Pain actually explains it. As far as the rest of the world is concerned, the Rain is still run by Hanzo of the Salamander. But the Leaf, more specifically Special Force leader Danzo, had a relationship with Hanzo. Hanzo and Danzo. What a funny group names. The Zos. But I'm flattering myself. So, when it comes down to it, we see that Pain had manipulated the name of Hanzo of the Salamander to manipulate the Leaf's council member Danzo into creating a bond with the Rain, where they could then infiltrate the Leaf as a ally, quote unquote, to be able to then destroy it. Obviously, they don't want to reveal their entire arsenal, so on this case, as he throws out 2 rings to 2 members, he says, Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga, you are hereby being tested to destroy the Leaf. We shall send you with a bunch of Rain forces to make it seem somewhat appeasing. Make a convincing transformation and be off. Naruto and Hinata would give swift and dull responses, just in like a yes leader or somewhat fashion, as they would then secretly, after leaving, freak out. Not only are they being sent as generals for the Rain army, but they're also finally getting to their goal of getting revenge on all the people that treated them unfair. For Hinata, that's the Hyuga clan. And for Naruto, well, that's the entire village. So, when we get to it, the day of departure, Naruto and Hinata would give their Rain troops a quick and disdaining improv speech, I guess. They'd say about how they shall cleanse this unpure and unfair world today. Starting today, everyone will be treated equal. So, he's not asking them to listen to him as a general, but to listen to him as a friend. And don't die. As they set off for the Leaf. At first, obviously, there was a debriefing explaining what the Rain were to do in this situation. Naruto and Hinata, who are the generals, would make their way to the Hokage building, as the rest of the Rain army would be withheld at the Leaf entrance. So, when it came down to it, a signal that would be obliviously noticeable would go off and they would hence take that as attack declaration, I guess. So, when it came down to it, even though it was a little unexpected who would meet them, it was two key individuals, a man in green and a man with a mask over his mouth, closing one of his eyes. Obviously, Naruto and Hinata knows who one of these are because they encountered them, and the other because of basically bingo book entry. And when it comes down to it, Naruto and Hinata had both put up a noticeable enough transformation to the point where they are hidden for now. The Rain forces are requested to stay at the gate as the generals meet with the current Kage, who is still the third Hokage, Hiruzen. As they make their way and Naruto finds himself in the middle of the village, he merely nods at Hinata, shedding his transformation, revealing his Akatsuki cloak, his face, and saying, "Let's play," as seemingly a giant explosion is let off, basically telling the troops to invade. They were given specific orders: do not kill civilians, only shinobi. Also, women and children should be left unharmed. This order was strict, as it was followed by intense bloodlust like these ninjas have never felt before. So, when Naruto fully transformed into the Nine Tails, obviously having promised Kurama a long time ago that he'd be able to wreak havoc on humanity if he just let Naruto have him once to destroy the leaf. Kurama and Naruto started off their relationship like this, of course, but it had blossomed into more of a partnership and equal hatred of humanity. So, going forward, Naruto has a lot more power over the Nine Tails, as the Nine Tails likes to destroy. This is one of the cases where he is let free to do as he pleases. Obviously, this initial explosion takes out two of the biggest threats in the village, one being Kakashi and the other Might Guy. Or at least that's what we're led to believe. As we'll later find out, Guy was able to activate the power of the gate to get him and Kakashi out of a sticky situation, both of them still standing severe injuries from the massive change of mass that had just occurred in the middle of the village, and quickly find themselves unconscious. And furthermore, the attack is becoming more clear. Naruto is supposed to take out as much shinobi force as he can in the middle of the village while causing as much destruction as possible, while their ranged shinobi would come out and take basically leaf shinobi from behind as they're dealing with the Nine Tails. On top of that, we have some clear more threats like obviously the clan heads and then obviously the Hokage himself. Hiruzen, who had heard the explosion, would have only sighed, as he had predicted something like this to happen. He'd immediately jump out of his Hokage robe, as he'd be in his ninja garb. We'd see him only think that it's been 15 years since he had last fought the Nine Tails. He knows this is where he dies, but he will save as many as he possibly can, and teach that damn fox a lesson. Now, obviously we know what Naruto's doing, but Hinata had leapt off. She's not just standing there taking out random shinobi on low class, right? No, she's actually going out and taking care of each individual clan leader, starting with the Hyuga clan, who had still been preparing for the upcoming war. So, we see her immediately kill multiple guards upon entering the compound. Obviously, this is where more and more guards would swarm her, and she'd just show her prowess, using every move in the Jugen book, and eventually she's faced with the only compatible Hyuga member within the clan, Neji. Neji, upon moments of arriving, would realize exactly who this is. This is Hinata. He would scream out and try to apologize, trying to convince her to come back to the village, as nothing the clan had ever done to her was intentional. He and even her younger sister miss her. But the younger sister part caught his tongue, as he couldn't bear to say it. He'd wince as Hinata was frantically laughing, but as soon as she heard this stop, she actually is wondering what happened to her sister. Neji would take some convincing to start talking, but he'd reveal that her sister, Hanabi, who had finally become a shinobi of the Hyuga clan, was sent on a mission. This mission had gone sideways and had resulted in her death. Obviously, this pushed Hinata completely over the edge, since Hanabi was frankly the only person she cared about. She would be swift to show Neji things that weren't to do with the Hyuga clan at all, moves he would never have expected, large-scale jutsu, and even every time he struck her, even if it touched her hands, his chakra input would just stop. It might have something to do with these large lions covering her fist, but he could practically do nothing, and eventually he'd fall. But not until Hiyashi himself would arrive as well. Hiyashi would be met coming back into the compound with his daughter, or previous daughter, striking down the Hyuga clan's current pride, Neji. This would obviously put Hiyashi in shock, but he would quickly assume battle position. Hinata would not even take to care to talk to Hiyashi, as he could tell. He is prepared to kill her without any doubt in his mind, while she is going to show him something so sadistic she thought she would never have done it. But hearing that her father sent Hanabi on the mission that had ended up killing her, she couldn't help it. As these weird chakra strings come from her fingers, it would attach to every fallen member in the courtyard, as all their bodies would raise, assuming either a fighting stance or pulling a kunai. Hiyashi would have to either destroy the bodies of or constantly be cutting strings, as he would just eventually be overwhelmed by his own clan, with Hinata sending her regards as she landed the final blow, putting a hole through him, a blue aura radiating. We go back to Naruto, who is currently fighting the third Hokage, Hiruzen, as he would swiftly defeat the old man. The old man obviously didn't go down without a fight and had actually injured the Nine Tails once again, but this time to a much larger extent. Sure, it's 15 years later and Hiruzen's even older, but when it comes down to it, the Nine Tails had also lost half its power. But when it came down to it, it eventually pulled off a Biju bomb that the old man redirected from the village in his last moments. That is honorable, I guess, but as Naruto detransformed, the only shinobi left were mere genin and civilians. And he doesn't want to kill civilians or children. So, he would make his way, pretty exhausted, back to the rain shinobi who had all accomplished their mission, as he falls into one of the lieutenant's arms. Hinata, who would arrive after killing each and every individual clan leader, would see Naruto sleeping in the back of what seems like a caravan, as they would make their way back to the rain, having successfully wiped out the Leaf, or at least its dominant military force. So what's going to come of the war going forward? Well, of course, now that the Leaf is gone, it proves that they didn't have a tailed beast. Obviously, it was a tailed beast that attacked them, no? So, when it comes down to it, the remaining villages couldn't help but to point fingers at each other once again. And this is where we're going to break off. I know up until this point, this series has been 20 to 30 minute episodes, but I will be ending it off right here because I think the next episode is going to be a lot more interesting. I'm actually going to go over a majority of the war in that single part, and that's why this one's so short, so that I could give you a teaser without letting this series die out. And on top of that, I would like to sincerely thank each and every one of the members that helped the channel grow and sustain itself. And if you want to see your name up here, the join button is right there next to subscribe, and or you could go to the description where the members link is. Also, on top of that, I would like to point out I do have a Discord, and in a few days I will be doing a Nitro giveaway. More specifically, it will be on Saturday. So, if you want to stand a chance at winning one of 5 Discord Nitros, make sure to join my Discord. Also, without further ado, this has been your boy Six. Peace.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Subscribe for more.
Yada yada does it.